Hello there, my name is Sylvain Rochon and I am the Paradise Engineer. And today I'll be talking about politics. Heavy subject, especially these days, looking at the US and looking at what's happening in Canada, election years. It's crazy. But what's really important to me is that politics are really old and obsolete. And that just means that the desire or they should be changing. It's just an obsolete system using obsolete processes. It's been going on for a long, long time, where basically the political system currently is essentially a system that was modernized in 19th and early 20th century to many degrees. I mean, there's always updates and modifications. There's new laws and regulations that come into play, but it was born over 100 years ago, a lot more than that. If you go way back to England and Magna Carta, but I mean, we don't need to go that far. It has evolved way, way, way much since then, but it hasn't really moved a whole lot in the past 100 years or so. Now that we have new understanding of the world is an open place. It's small. We have telecommunications, we have the internet, social media, all sorts of means to connect with each other and to interact with each other. And yet the political system is basically the same as what it was before even computers, right? So something that we do know is that it does need some fixing because it has some serious flaws, serious problems. And most of us actually just have resigned to how it works. We look at the behavior of politicians, how they operate. They are human beings like you and I. They, many of them actually want to do the right thing and want to do good legislation for the population. They are intentionally motivated by principles, ideologies, and to change the world and all these things. But they are also people that need to eat. They have families to provide for. And this actually creates a problem within the system. A problem that we've accepted was inherent to the system because the system is filled with people, and we have the one vote, one person, one vote type of democracy, which has been around for a long time, and it's great. It sounds very fair. In practicality, it has its issues. Like, for example, when a politician has something unpopular to legislate or to pass into law, by reason of self-preservation for their own job, they will wait till the end of their political career or the end of their term, whichever comes first, to unveil this potential law. Even though the law could have been deployed or legislated years before and saved lives, usually they'll wait till the end. And this is kind of a natural instinct. I won't be doing this now because I need to remain in office. People will rationalize and justify, well, we need to wait till then because if I do this now, I won't have a second term. I mean, all this happens to normal people because they want to put food on the table, and this is their livelihood. This is what they're doing. This is what they're being paid for in this economy that requires money. So this behavior occurs because of self-interest. It's not necessarily selfish. I mean, I wouldn't go that far in most cases. It's just intuitively self-interest. And it's justifiable. It's justified rationally. And similarly, on the other end of the spectrum, the popular legislation pieces and popular ideologies are passed at opportune times that will allow them to pursue their career, most likely in election years, where it's not the end of their term, for example, and they'll talk about these popular campaign points in the campaigning elements of the electoral process because they want to be popular. There's a need to be popular because that's how you get votes, and that's how you are able to raise funds that pays for the ads, and that gets you voted into a major office. And ultimately, we know from research, and I wrote an article, it's in the down below as always, and there's a link in there that shows some articles that demonstrate that, typically the politician that fundraises the most money and spends the most in ads tends to win the popular vote. It's simple mathematics. If more people know about you and your platform, Ergo, you are more popular, you're more known, you get more votes. It's simple as that. And if every candidate tends to hang on concepts that are ultimately popular and not controversial to most people, then it's the person that has the most money that ends up winning the election. And so money drives the election. And depending on the country where you're in, the legislations, the regulations around who donates what and how, you may have some dues, if you're a politician, to whoever donated in the past, whether it's a group of people donating a small amount of money, or it could be large donors where you have more serious dues to pay. But nobody talks about it because it's not supposed. You're supposed to be in office to execute the will of the people, not lobbyists or a group of specific interests. But this is still part of the system. You have the money. That's definitely a part of the system. And the campaigning and the fundraising takes about half the time of every politician. Every politician spends half their time fundraising and not doing what the duty of the people, serving the people. So there's a bunch of issues. We all know this. This is not new, but this is the failings of the current system the way it is now. Now, my idea is like, well, okay, that's great. We know where the problems are. How do we fix it? And the way we fix it is that we have to change how the system works fundamentally. We have to change a few things. And there are ways to eliminate the need for campaigning, the need for parties, the need to raise any kind of funds whatsoever. We can even eliminate lots of the seats of representatives because, again, this is outdated processes. Like we don't need, for instance, we don't need local representation embodied in a person that much anymore because everybody has access to the internet, social media, so we can text and voice and video whatever is happening in our neighborhood. We don't need a single representative that represents 50,000, 100,000 of us and expect this person to figure out what everybody needs and what's the majority needs. No, we don't need that individual. We can actually, using technology, using blockchain if we really want to, we don't really need blockchain for this, but just using the internet and our smartphones, each individual can complain or send reports or feedback or to a primary system that collects, based on GPS and addresses, knows where you are or who you are because of IDs, and registers your comment, your complaint, the pothole, whatever it is. You don't make enough money for a living, census data, all this stuff can be collected. Well, okay, not exactly census, but it wouldn't be inaccurate. But anyhow, a lot of information can be collected on a day-to-day basis, on a weekly basis, monthly basis, on every area. It can be collated, analyzed using artificial intelligence, for example, so that it's put into some reports to the people that can actually do something in the area. But that's an executive. It's not a representative. It's a person that, or a group or a society, could be the municipality, could be the Ministry of Public Works, or whatever it is, can receive that information knowing that this area, this number of people, this demographic has a certain need or a certain complaint. Well, let's set aside some budget to alleviate these issues. It sounds serious, or let's send somebody there to take a look at it ourselves. You don't need a rep to be on the ground and that we need to vote in to kind of have a voice for us all. We can be our own voice for a lot of things. So that's one of the things. And secondly, when we vote, the issue, or the main issue that drives all these problems inside the political system and the motivations and the bad legislation or the decisions on when to legislate what, is born out of the fact that everybody has a vote, and they have candidates that come out of popularity contests, and we're voting for for person A, B, and C, and we don't really have any expertise on what they need to legislate on most of the time. Like if you are a doctor, using that, let's say you're a farmer, you probably know a lot about farming, a lot of agriculture, rural life, how things work over there. You know what laws and legislations are bad, those need to change, those that could probably be put in place that would be useful. But the people in the city have no idea about your reality. They have no idea about farming, but we all have a chance to vote on policies that affect the farming in the rural areas. I mean, half the population, or more than half the population, doesn't live there. That has no idea what's going on there. So what I'm suggesting is, well, let's change the system. Let's make sure that we elect expert legislators for each piece that needs to be to have legislation on, like the farming and the rural areas. Well, the people living in the rural areas probably know the people that know best, the best experts that could pass law, or at least suggest laws about what needs to be done over there. And those individuals that are super expert in that respect can receive the collated or accumulated data or synthesized data that the rural areas send from their smartphones and make sense of it too, because he's an expert in that spot, he or she, mind you. So I think the experts of the different fields should be nominating, because they know who the experts are, nominating whatever amount of experts that they think would do a great job leading the legislation of that department or that field. And then these same individuals that know what's going on in that area and in that domain, like rural area of farming, for example, I'm talking about agriculture, a ministry of agriculture, and whoever's going to be the cabinet member for that, for example. Well, they nominate the candidates because they know who's the experts and who knows their stuff or not. And then they can pass a vote among themselves, all the people that know who are the best, to elect one, like the best of the best, for let's say a 4-year term, to legislate on behalf of everybody that's in agriculture, as well as everybody else that don't know anything about agriculture, right? Because the other people that usually would have a vote on this through traditional election processes, they don't know. They may think something is terrible, and they'll vote it out. But the farmers probably want this, you know. So, and then you know, the healthcare. You got doctors, nurses. You got everybody that knows about healthcare, that knows the people that are the best positions, the better positioned individuals to legislate on that. Let them nominate and elect a primary candidate that would lead on that legislation on behalf of the whole society, and put that person into place for 4 years. No recurring terms, no re-elections, no campaigning, no political parties either. Because if you mention, I never mentioned political parties. You elect an individual that will lead a certain department and legislate on behalf of everybody. There's no political party needed. Each individual, like whoever's going to end up leading the farming stuff, may be super conservative. The person that is leading for the healthcare stuff may be super progressive. Maybe the person that's going to lead legislation that will pertain to education is a centrist or libertarian-minded person, not part of a party itself, but the way they are. And the people in the field would elect them based on their competence, expertise, experience, and ideology as individuals. And they would elect that person by popular vote because that's the best person for the job at that time. And sometimes you may need a progressive, sometimes you may need a conservative or minded individual in these different spots based on need. And the people that vote them in would know what the need is, because they're in it. They know all about it, and they know all the experts, and they can, by consensus through voting, they can get somebody into place that will actually do something of value without any of the money involved, because there's no campaigning at all. And also, since there are no additional terms, and the person is not campaigning himself, like he's not nominating himself or herself for a position, they're selected to serve the people, basically. I mean, they'll legislate what needs to get done, knowing that in 4 years they're out anyway. It doesn't matter. It's not a career. It's something they do. They don't need to campaign, so there's no popularism. It's they're put into place, and it's like, well, you do it. We read all that what you wrote. You talked about it in a forum, because we asked questions perhaps during the nomination process. Maybe some questions are asked so that all the experts in the field would get a sense of, you know, who's doing what, whose ideas is what exactly. Why not? And then you just go and do the job on behalf of everybody, which means they may do some fairly unpopular yet expedient and necessary critical legislation really early on in their term, because that's what they're there for, is to serve us that may be ignorant about their piece of legislation in their field, their science, and their whatever it is. And this would be a real reform of the political landscape. And we may not even call it politics anymore, because there's no argumentation between different groups and different ideologies. It's just do something. After 4 years, well, somebody else is going to be voted into place. We may add a layer of supervision, you know, sure, to you know, a bit of a system of emergency in case one of them goes nuts for whatever reason, like a type of impeachment type of process, if you will. If it really goes off the rail, then people are saying, whoa, like this is really crazy shit. This is not what we signed up for. We really think, you know, this individual is mentally insane, or whatever it is. I mean, sure, we could always put that into place. I think that's smart. But ultimately, we can create a government that is very efficient, that does the right job for the right reason at the right time. And most of us would get one or several votes, depending on our areas of expertise. We'd still get to vote, but not on a single leader or representatives. No, we get to vote on people that get to do things because we need them to do things. We need them to take decisions on our behalf. And we put the power in their hands, in their category of expertise, if you will, to legislate and work with teams of legislators to iron things out for us. And I think that would be, a format like that would be much more beneficial for everybody, more expedient. And we'd avoid all this tra-la-la all over the place, and this infighting, I mean, it's just tiresome. We don't need that. We need efficient government that does work. And we don't need popularity contests. We don't need money to be involved in there, and special interests. No, we need people that just do things because that's the right thing to do, and that is what must be done for the benefit of us all. Anyway, those are my ideas. You may agree or disagree. I would love to receive some comments and some ideas and some links to other research on the subject. No problem. If you like the video, if you want to pass it along, go nuts. I'm here to issue ideas and see what bites. Hopefully, we'll get some progress done. Bye-bye for now.